Hello, my book and wax friends. I am Amber. Welcome to my channel. Today's video is a bookish video. It is my June book wrap up, my books and bars. So it's my reviews of the books that I read in June, and then also for the books that I read physically with my eyes, the wax that I have paired with those books. So stay tuned. There will be timestamps, as there always are, for these longer review videos. But I did split it up this time around and talked about each book, recorded talking about each book after pretty soon after I finished the books. And so hopefully my reviews are a little more concise. So that's why you'll see wardrobe changes throughout the video, is because I did do it as I finished the book. It talked about the books. So first off, though, let's take a look at my official TBR. So here is the look at the books that were on my official list for the month of June. I always pick 6 books, and as you can see, I read 5 of the 6, and the 6th of Jade and Dragons that I started, I've oft DNF'd it. I just wasn't holding my interest, and so I could possibly come back to it, especially because it is on my annual TBR, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if I'm feeling in the mood for it at a later time this year, but as of when I would try to read it in June, I just wasn't feeling it. So let's jump into my reviews of all the books. But then again, stay tuned for the end, where I will talk about the wax that I have paired with some of the books that I read. Okay, first 2 books of June that I have gotten to now that I'm doing the reviews a little bit differently. So hopefully I remember things better for you guys. The first one that I finished is The Book Witch by Meg Schaefer. I have this on audio, but I do plan on picking it up in physical form because, spoiler, it was 5 stars. So I have read Meg Schaefer's The Wishing Game, which I also gave 5 stars, but I love this one even more, you guys. So this is about a girl who is a book witch, and they are ones that are kind of protectors of books, in that they protect books from things called burners, from people called burners who want to destroy books, and they also protect fictional characters by getting them back into their books if they've escaped into the real worlds, because either one can change the books or destroy the books. And so Rainy March, who is the main character of the story, she ends up falling in love with a fictional character at the beginning. And from there, his name is the Duke of Chicago, and he's a famous British detective in Chicago. In his books, think Sherlock Holmes, in the 1930s. And they fall in love, and they're caught in their relationship, because that's one of the no-nos as far as the rules for book witches. And so she's forbidden to see him, or she's going to lose her ability to serve as a book witch. And from there, a year later, after they were caught having the relationship, her grandfather ends up disappearing. And she comes from a family where her grandfather and grandmother raised her. Her mother passed away when she was just a baby. And so he's like a dad to her as well. And so he disappears, and there's a mystery. She's got to find where he is and save books at the same time. And it's wonderful, you guys. This is a book written for readers and books. It's just for the love of books, and I loved it so much. I would say, even if you're not normally a fantasy type reader, Lauren, I'm looking at you, I think that you could really like this story as a book lover. This takes place in the real world. Like I say, there is hopping into books, but it's not like overall fantastical, still fantasy elements, but it's more magical realism. And as I said, it's a book written for book lovers. And it was wonderful. I love it so much. It made me laugh. It made me cry in parts. Obviously, I'm tearing up now thinking about it. So I do highly, highly recommend it. Content-wise, it is clean in that there is no open door scenes. There's a closed door scene in it and a couple kisses on page. And then language-wise, there's no language until a certain part in the story, and at that part, there's 2 SH words and 1 D word, and then other than that, there's no language. And even though I'm not one that likes profanity, it made sense with the story. So, and if you're not bothered by profanity and all, then it doesn't matter. But I like to give content because I do, and I like to know content for books so I can make an informed decision about whether to read the book or not. So, just so you know, it makes sense to the story in that part of the story. But if you don't want any language at all, I want you to know that those 3 words are there. So anyway, wonderful. Loved it. Highly, highly, highly recommend it. I think it'll probably be one of my top favorites of the year. That's how much I loved it. So The Book Witch by Meg Schaefer. The next book I did finish so far this month is Love and Saffron by Kim Fay. And this one I read physically and through audiobook, and it was for the prompt. Oh no, that's not what that is. What was this one? This was for the prompt. Just a minute. I have to go look. I'll be right back. Okay, figured it out. This is for the prompt from an author that's written 3 or more books. So Love and Saffron, Kim Fay has written quite a few books. And this is an epistolary book, and I rated it 5 stars again, you guys. Not as high if I'm comparing it to The Book Witch. I like this one less. I won't be like rereading it, but I did enjoy it. It is an epistolary book, and it is about 2 women back in the 1960s. One is an aspiring journalist, and her name is, what is her name? See, I just read it and I've already forgotten. This is why I have to do it this way, so I don't forget. How sad is that? Joan. So Joan lives in LA, and she's an aspiring journalist. She works for a smaller newspaper at the time, and she loves food. She's a foodie. And she, at the beginning of the book, writes a letter to this older lady named Imogen Fortier. And Imogen does have a column in a newspaper up in Oregon or Washington, about island life. She lives or has a kind of like a summer home on an island on the coast of either Washington or Oregon, because I don't remember which one it is, but Pacific Northwest. And they form a friendship from that. Joan sends her that first letter telling how much she loved her article and how much she loves food as well, and sends her a little packet of saffron with the food. And they become friends through their love of food, and they share life experiences with each other. And there is a lot of heart in this. It's not just about food. It's about their lives as well, and things that go on during those few years of friendship with each other. And it was just wonderful. It's another one that's making me tear up. Oh my goodness. So you guys, I loved it. It was wonderful. And that's why I was teetering between a 4.75 and a 5 star, but the fact that it did make me so emotional is what bumped it up to the 5-star. So if you're looking for a book that is, gives you those feels of friendship, but isn't super hard to follow in regards to epistolary, if you're not normally an epistolary reader, I feel like this one is a really good, easy one to get into. Because it's pretty straightforward in its nature of letter writing. There's not a lot of like complications with it at all. Content-wise, there is no profanity or sex on page or violence on page, but it is an adult book in that it does talk about some adult things. So it's not one that I would say that, number one, young adult may even like. Maybe an older young adult would enjoy this story, but I would say for the most part, it's because of the few adult themes that are in it and the historical aspects of the times and stuff, that it is, more for adults. But content-wise, as far as on-page stuff, there's nothing. So that is Love and Saffron. So good reading month so far. Let's hope it continues. All right, next book that I did read during the month of June was Class Reunions Are Murder by Libby Klein. So a cozy mystery, my first official cozy mystery. And I would have to rate this one. I'm trying to decide between a 3.5 and a 4-star. There was a lot of it that I did really enjoy. A lot of laugh out loud moments that I did enjoy. But I don't know if this has convinced me to now read cozy cozy mysteries. It was a nice like brain break, I felt like. A lot of fun. So maybe we'll go with, I'll give it my rating 3.75 since it's right between the two. So this is about a girl named Poppy McAllister, and she is a widower and in a bad spot with her grief during the beginning of the book. Or a widow. She's not a widower. That usually signifies the male counterpart. Anyway, so she is a widow, and she ends up getting an invite to her 25-year class reunion and is not planning on going, but she receives a letter from a girl who was a terrible bully to her and her friends. And this fancy letter is like exclusively asking her to come to the reunion, and her friends encourage her to go. So she ends up going to her class reunion, and there she encounters Barbie again, the girl that was the terrible bully to her, and Barbie hasn't changed, and Poppy, ends up getting pinned with Barbie's murder because she ends up finding her in front of her old locker. So Poppy now is trying to figure out who killed Barbie. And so, yeah, like I said, it was a lot of fun. There was a lot of funny moments that I did laugh about. Poppy had a very like self-deprecating type of humor, very sarcastic as well. And for the most part, I did enjoy that. So as I said, it was a nice brain break for me. And I enjoyed Libby Klein's writing. I thought she did a great job having all those twists and turns in the coziness of the mystery. So content-wise, there are adult situations talked about, but there's nothing like on page or anything like that. And I don't remember anything as far as profanity goes. If it was very mild and very minor. Maybe a couple times if there was anything at all. And then, of course, this is a cozy mystery, and there is murder, obviously, but there's nothing graphic described in the book. So, yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a fun thing to try something new from what I normally read. If you do have any recommendations for any other cozy mysteries, let me know down in the comments, because yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to trying another one again someday. So that is Class Reunions Are a Murder by Libby Klein. Okay, I have 2 more books to share with you guys. And the next one is Forest of Scarlet by Tara Grace that I finished. And this one is the first book in Court of Midsummer Mayhem, book 1. And my rating for this one is 3 stars. I did enjoy it. I didn't realize when I read it that it wasn't confusing, because it was its own contained story, but there was a story that happened to be before this about the male main character's sister, who is Robin Hood, and about what happened there. And so that the way they were talking in this one kind of led a little confusing, but overall I did enjoy it. I liked it. I thought it was a fun read. So this is about a girl named Bridget, and she lives in the Fae world, but she is human, and she is what is called the Primrose. So this is inspired by the Scarlet Pimpernel, I ended up finding out. And she rescues humans that have been taken by more evil Fae that look at humans as being less than, and so who wants to snatch them and enslave them. And Bridget ends up rescuing them, and no one knows who the Primrose is, including a guy named Munch. That's his nickname. And he is one of the siblings of Robin from one of the prior novels. And he has had feelings for Bridget for a long time, but he does not know that she's the Primrose, and she feels like she can't have any sort of interaction because she lives in the Fae world and he lives with his family in the human realm. And so plus with her being the Primrose, she's like, I can't have any sort of romantic entanglements. Well, come to find out that a lot, like villages worth of people, are being snatched. And so Munch ends up going to the Fae realm to warn the Primrose of these things happening, and to get help so that they can figure out what's going on. So that is pretty much the gist of the story. I don't want to say anything to spoil anything. I thought the writing was good. I thought the descriptions were done really well. It wasn't super descriptive as far as the world building goes, but at the same time, there was quite a bit where you knew what was going on and what plot-wise was happening. One of the things that I really enjoyed was all of Bridget's, her dresses. She always had pockets. I love pockets in my dresses, number one. And not only are they pockets, but they're like pockets where you can stuff a ton of things like Mary Poppins with her bag, where there's a lot more room in the pockets than what seems to be. And so I love that aspect of the story, which is kind of a funny thing to love, but it's true that I did. I enjoyed the characters for the most part. I really did like Bridget. Munch I liked, but I couldn't get over his name. His regular name is Mungo, which isn't the best name either, but Munch as a name, it's hard for me to get behind a love interest when his name is Munch. I don't know. It's just me. It just kind of bugged me. It just bugged me. So it made me not like it as much, which is kind of silly, but that's the way it is. That's how I felt. So content, it was clean. It's a clean fantasy. Not a ton in regards to romance in this. They just talk about their feelings mainly. And then there's one kiss or a few kisses at the end, but nothing detailed or anything. So yeah, I enjoyed it. 3 stars. I may continue because I know there's 3 books, I think, or so in this series, but we'll see. I liked it. Like I said, just wasn't a standout for me. The next one I read was Capitana by Cassandra James. And this one I also gave 3 stars. So this is a piratey adventure type of story about a girl named Jimena. And she is at this school for learning to become like a pirate hunter. And she is the daughter of a father and mother who ended up being hung for being pirates for treason. And so she's like extra trying to prove herself. And she is at the school and that to become a pirate hunter for their empire. And something happens to where she, along with some other people, has to go hunt down this mythical pirate to rescue someone that's been kidnapped and that's trying to take over the kingdom, so to speak. So that's what happens. So she has a rival that she does not like at all, named Dante. He doesn't do anything, yet he's always kind of given a pass because he is the son of the high minister in the government, and so he gets away with everything. They have a very much enemies type of rapport with each other. And he also is one of the ones that ends up having to go to hunt down this pirate who's kidnapped someone. So definitely an enemies to lovers type of vibe to it. I personally did not feel the lovers aspect after it came into play. It was not something that happened like right away, but it felt like Dante was very much not a very nice person. The way he treated Jimena, and I just couldn't get back behind the fact that he claims that there was something there that wasn't enemies. And then Jimena, I wasn't a fan really of her as a character all that much, which is again why it was a 3-star book. She thought very much in black and white about everything and pretty much like a zealot to the cause of her empire. And to where she would betray people because it was for the law. The law was above everything else type of thing. So I wasn't, I guess I shouldn't say betray, but the law was everything to her. No matter who it was or what happened, there was no mercy whatsoever. It was always like blindly follow type of mindset. Like I said, she was kind of a zealot. And so I wasn't the biggest fan of her. Now things do change towards the last part of the book, to where possibly if I were to read the second one, I might like her more. But as a 3-star book, I don't know if I would continue. Usually if the book is 3 stars, which again, that means I like it. It was good. But when it's 3 stars, when there's other series that I'm trying to get through as well, it's very low on the totem pole as far as a priority. So I know the second book is coming out this year, but I don't know if I'll ever get to it. So it was fine. I enjoyed it. And yeah, it was 3 stars. Content wise, it was also a clean book. There was no even language. And then 1 kiss, and that was it. No profanity. And you know, this is priority seafaring adventure, so there is violence, but it was very mild. There wasn't any sort of like descriptors or anything like to where if you have a weak stomach to that sort of thing, I don't think you would be bothered by it. But Capitana by Cassandra James. So yeah. Alrighty, the next book I have to share with you is Without a Clue by Melissa Ferguson. This is a romantic mystery type of book, and I gave it 5 stars. You guys, this book was so much fun. This is about a girl named Penelope. She goes by Pip, and she is the personal assistant of this very famous mystery thriller author named Hugh. And he has this group of other authors from various genres that he's been friends with for a long time, some more current than others. And they're called the Fabulous 7. And they all decide, along with Pip, to go on this cruise together that she put on, this like meet your favorite authors type of cruise. So it's for people that are super fans. They get to meet and interact with their authors on this 7-day cruise to the Bahamas or somewhere like that. I can't remember where exactly. Oh no, it's to Europe. It's like Italy or Spain is where they go, something like that. And so they go on this cruise, and this isn't a spoiler because I know it is in the synopsis. Hugh ends up dead on the cruise. And so Pip has to figure out what in the world is going on. She has to deal with incompetent law people because they're on the cruise. They can't leave where they are. And the shenanigans of the Fabulous 7. And one of the Fabulous 7 who she's had a really good connection with, his name is Nash, and he writes Western type books. They've always been like BFFs as far as when they're interacting with each other in a job like setting. And so he ends up coming along to try and help her while they catch a murderer. And so that's where it is. It's so funny. There was so many laugh out loud moments for me, and the characters in it were just the best. Each author had their own like distinct personality, and Pip as the main character was just so good, very cheeky, very sassy, but in a good way, not in an obnoxious way or anything like that. And I loved it. It was so good. And so yeah, I have to rate it 5 stars. Content wise, this is a clean book, no language, no open door scenes. Again, it is a murder mystery though, so there is, you know, that described, but it's not detailed in any way at all. It doesn't get into like super gory categories or anything like that. So that is Without a Clue. The next book that I read for the month was called A Deal with the Debutante, and this is by Chelsea I can't see it. You can see what it is. Bobliski. I'm butchering it. I just can't pronounce Russian type names very well, so I apologize for that. But you can see what it is. So, and for this one, I gave 4 stars. I did really enjoy it. It is about a girl named Calliope Hart. She is an American, and this takes place during the Edwardian period, so early 1900s. And she her mother forces her to come to England to find a titled gentleman to marry. And then at that same time, there are a lot of the aristocrats who were marrying American women for their money. So Calliope comes to England for the season, and there she meets, what was his name again? Edward, and he is one of those aristocrats whose estate is struggling, who doesn't have a lot of money. And so he sees Calliope and is immediately drawn to her. And even though he doesn't want to, he's forced to find someone that has a lot of money. And that's why the American heiresses are there for the season, is to find husbands, and vice versa with the British gentlemen. And so he strikes up a deal with Calliope to give him a couple weeks to become engaged to him. And she doesn't want to have anything to do with any sort of British husband. She loves New York, where she's from. She has plans of her own there, and she doesn't want those plans to be ruined by moving to England and finding a husband, especially one that wouldn't be a love match for her. But Edward makes a bargain with her, give him a couple weeks, and if at the end of those couple weeks she doesn't think she could marry him, then, it's time to go. It's free for her to go and finish her plans in New York. So they end up getting to know each other and going on this touring historical landmarks in London. And then he takes her to his estate so she can get to know people there and the village and the house, and she sees the condition of everything. Well, through this time, they do start to develop feelings for each other, but she doesn't feel like Edward has those feelings, number one, and number two, because of this bargain, she doesn't know if she can trust if they are real, if he does. And then he doesn't think that she may have those feelings because she's so adamant about returning to America and doesn't want to uproot her life. So that's where the story goes, and I did enjoy it. I didn't give it a full 5 stars just because, number one, it felt like the feelings were kind of rushed. It took place within the span of just a couple weeks. And then number two, not that you can't develop feelings during that time, but to feel like this is the love of my life, I can't find anyone else that will ever compare to this person, that sort of thing. That was a little rushed to me. And then number two, it was a little slow for me in parts, and I do enjoy a meandering story, but this one felt like there's not a lot of stuff going on. And so even though I enjoyed the storyline, I enjoyed the characters, I just didn't get those 5-star feelings. So that is it. As far as content goes, this was a clean book. Only kisses, and then no profanity at all. So it was good. So yeah, that is A Deal with the Debutante. And it was 4 stars. Okay, next up, the next one I read is Just Stab Me Now. So this was for my TBR, and it is by Jill Barrett. And this is a break the fourth wall type of book about an author named Caroline, and she is writing this fantasy novel. And the novel is what you're reading in this. And it is about a girl, what was her name? Named Rosamund. And she is in the middle of kind of a war between these two neighboring countries. And she is from one country, yet when she married someone from the other country. And she, in the process at the beginning of the story, you find out that she's a widow. Her husband did pass away during the skirmishes, yet she feels like there maybe have been some funny business. Well, the queen of the country she's living in, not her home country, but the country she's living in, tasks her to go to her home country where she grew up and talk to the king there, because the queen wants to negotiate a peace treaty. She doesn't want war anymore. And the king of the other land is actually Rosamund's brother-in-law. Her sister is married to him. So during this process, she is given a guard whose name is Leo Collins, Captain Leo Collins, and they go on this trip together. And there's a lot of like political intrigue in this, but there's a lot of humor in it as well. And I thought my rating, I just realized I didn't give a rating at the beginning, is 3.5 stars. The actual storyline between Rosamund and Leo and the fantasy world, it was like medieval type of feeling to it. I really enjoyed that a lot. But as I said, this is kind of a break the fourth wall kind of novel. And so because of that, at points in the story, you would get Caroline like forcing herself into the story to talk to her characters because they're not cooperating in the way she wants them to. So you get that storyline of her jumping in every once in a while. And then at other points in time, you see Caroline's world where she's dealing with some things in her life, and you come to find out that her editor may be who she based characters on and whatnot in the story, and the main Rosamund could be based on her, possibly, that sort of thing. And so you had a lot of jumping around, and I've realized that it was fine, but I wanted certain storylines, like the fantasy storyline. It was abrupt, where you would have her jumping in and I'd be like, I just want to read the story and not have these interruptions. And then with Caroline's storyline aspect of the book, I didn't care as much about that storyline as the one with Rosamund and Leo. And so I didn't enjoy that all that much. If it had just been specifically about Leo and Rosamund and all the politics and them falling in love and all that stuff, I probably would have rated this higher. The writing was good. The characters were good for what it was. They were fleshed out. I did like the humor in it in regards to the whole banter with the author and the characters. That was a fun concept. For me, I figured out I don't like it. I had the same issue in regards to the Princess Bride book. It was the same type of feeling, whereas the author inserted himself and you got this meta narrative, and I did not like that. That's one example where I can say the movie was better than the book, in my opinion, with The Princess Bride. I adore the movie. Wasn't really a fan of the book. So it's the same for this one. I feel it worked better as Jill Barrett's YouTube videos, because that's where she got her inspiration for this book. I enjoyed that quite a lot, her videos, but whereas in the book, it was just too, I felt like I was being pushed and pulled from one narrative to the other, and it got to be a little too much for me. So, as I said, 3.5 stars. Content-wise, there was no language. There was no, again, open door type of scenes, just kisses only. And so I did, like I said, 3.5 stars. I did enjoy it. And yeah, so that is just Stab Me Now. Okay, final book of June was The Magic of Lemon Drop Pie. This is by Rachel Linden. And I have to rate this 4 stars. I'm very happy that I finally was able to read it. And even though it seems like it's summery, it actually, at the beginning of the book anyway, takes place in winter. But the cover was giving me summer vibes, so that's why I decided to read it over the summer months. But I enjoyed it. It is about a girl named Lolly. She is approaching her 33rd birthday, and she is not where she thought she was in life. Her mother tragically passes away 10 years earlier, and because of that, she gave up on her dreams. She gave up on her boyfriend and her dreams of opening a restaurant in England, and instead works in her family's diner that has been passed down for the past couple generations, to try and help her father out and to help pretty much raise her sister, who is about 10 years younger than she is, so was very young when their mom passed away. And from that, she hasn't fulfilled any of her own desires and dreams, and instead regrets her past instead of living in the moment. Well, her great aunt, who also works at the diner, gives her an early birthday present because her 33rd birthday is approaching, and gives her these 3 lemon drops that are supposed to magically put you in an alternate version of what your life could be like. And of course, Lolly at first is like, I don't believe this, but okay, I'm going to humor you. And so she takes one, and it ends up working. And she ends up in a day in the life of what her life would have been like in this one instance. That was a past regret. And so she ends up eventually taking the other 2 lemon drops too, and finds out what her great aunt says her bliss is throughout the journey. And so it's about learning to not necessarily regret the past, but learn from it, move on, and realize that you don't have to be stuck. You don't have to live in the past. You can move on from those things and still find joy and fulfill your dreams. So I really enjoyed it. As I said, it was a 4-star read. Lolly was a great character. She frustrated me a little bit, but I understood where she was coming from, because she did feel like she had to be there to support her father, who was still grieving after 10 years of losing their mother, and to step up as a mother figure for her younger sister, and the restaurant that had been in the family for a long time. And so she felt stuck. So I enjoyed her journey on how she came to realize that things didn't necessarily need to be the way she felt like they needed to be. I did enjoy the romance aspect of the story too, with her first love, Rory. She had loved him pretty much since they were kids. They grew up across the street from each other. And just to see the glimpses into the relationship in the past, and then to see how she was able to move on from that because of her glimpses into what could have been. And it had a really nice resolution. And one of the twists in it, I was like, oh, I wonder if this is this. And I did end up being right. So that was cool. So yeah, 4 stars, super cute. Didn't give me 5-star feelings though, but I did really, really enjoy it. And I do highly recommend it. Content-wise, there was no open door scenes. There were 2 bad words. One was mild and one was moderate. And that was it. But it does talk about grief. It does talk about some more adult situations because it is an adult book. But yeah, it was good. So The Magic of Lemon Drop Pie. All right, so let's look at the wax melts that I have for the various books that I read physically. The first one for Love and Saffron, I paired it with Sharp Dressed Man. This is a very herbal, kind of an old-fashioned, bright, like cologne-ish type scent, but it's not overly cologne-y, but it just made me feel, especially because the herbs in it, it made me feel like it would match really well with Love and Saffron, especially because this takes place in the 60s, the book does, and so this felt like a good pairing with that one. Then for the next one, what did I read? I think this one. Class Reunions Are Murder. I went with Citrus Pop, and Citrus Pop is a creamy, bright, like a mandarin citrus with a little bit of vanilla, not to where it leans like creamsicle, but there is a creaminess to this one, and it's so good. This is one of my favorite citrus scents. I thought it would work perfectly for this one because Class Reunions and I can't remember what reunion it was, but it felt like, oh yeah, class of 80s something or other. So this seems like a very, look at the label first of all. Doesn't that feel like 80s to you? And the scent, bright, happy, effervescent type of scent, I felt it would be a good pairing. So for that one, I had to go with Citrus Pop. Then for the next one, for Forest of Scarlet, I went with Johnny Appleseed, which is one of my all-time favorite apples. If you're looking for a super fresh apple, this one's so good. Straight up like fresh Macintosh apple. And mainly, besides the fact that I'm an apple girl and I love apple scent, so I was like, I'm gonna pick this one. Look at her dress. It matches her dress. And so I was like, that's a nice pairing. Let's do this. So that is the one that I matched with Forest of Scarlet. Then for the next book, Capitana, by Cassandra James. This one I went with a tropical fruity type scent and chose Kahiko Hula. This is all like tropical. There's like passion fruit in it. Possibly guava, I don't remember, actually it has the notes. Passion fruit, mango, and papaya, not guava, papaya in this. But this one also, just like with Citrus Pop, there is like a creamy quality to it. It is not overly like vibrant, but I chose it mainly because, you know, it's like pirates, they're on the sea. You think tropical islands, that sort of thing. So Kahiko Hula, I felt worked perfectly. Then for the next one, for Just Stab Me Now by Jill Barrett, I picked Hufflepuff, Just and Loyal from the Hogwarts Houses collection. This is my favorite from that collection. And it's back this month, so I'm so excited. This is amazing. It's very polarizing though, because honey, if you don't like honey and home fragrance, I would say you probably wouldn't like this, but so strong, so delicious. Another apple type of scent, honeyed apple, and then like a cinnamon sugar, like churro mixed in. I think it's amazing. And honestly, I just picked it because I wanted to pick it. But look, so this is kind of like a medieval type of fantasy vibes to it. And so you got the little crest for Hufflepuff. And I was like, yeah, that works. That has to work. And then last but not least, for the Magic of Lemon Drop Pie, how could I not go with a lemon scent? So I went with Sparkling Yellow. I don't think this one's available anymore. It was available last month, and I got, like I said, I have it, but this one you can't get. We have so many good lemon scents, though, that are available, but this one is sparkling, like it said. It's got an effervescence to it with lemon, obviously, but there's like pineapple in it, and I think grapefruit, something like that, but it is really a nice scent. And like I said, how could I not pair it a lemon scent when it's the Magic of Lemon Drop Pie? So that is it, you guys. Thank you for spending some time with me. And I appreciate all of you guys. Please let me know down in the comments if you've read any of these books. What are your thoughts on them, or what was a standout book for you for the month of June? I am always ready to add more books to my TBR, my never-ending pile of books on my TBR list. But I love it. I love it so much. So thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And until next time, take care. TTFN. Ta-ta for now.